It's been a long time coming, but Android applications are finally back, and in this episode we have some of the best applications you've seen in 2018. And as always, I'm going to save my personal favourites till the end, so watch out for those, and let's get started. The first app is a browser, and it's called Cake, and it takes a slightly different approach to Google Chrome or Internet Explorer, in that when you type in a search term, it loads up every relevant website. So from the search menu, you can just swipe across and you can pull up every single page instantly. So naturally, because of the way this works, the initial loading takes a little bit longer than on Chrome or other internet browsers, but at the same time, having all these pages open simultaneously lets you flick between them much easier. So if, for example, you're searching for something and want multiple opinions, this is a much easier way of doing it. Number 2 is SmartKit 360, one application that tries to replace 32 others. It is essentially what it says on the tin. It combines many simple tasks into one unified interface. Everything from a notepad and a file manager to a metronome and a torch. This thing pretty much has every basic task covered, and they work offline as well as online. Next up, we've got an app called CleanFox, which is predicated on reducing your carbon footprint. And the way it does this is kind of beneficial to you as well. You sign in with your email address and it'll tell you in a Tinder-style swipe interface all the different newsletters you're subscribed to, and with one swipe you can delete and unsubscribe every single email, because apparently one email emits 10 grams of CO2 per year, and as well as that, the company promises to plant a tree every single time you get one of your friends to sign up. So it very much feels like a win-win situation, doing your bit to help the planet, but at the same time making your own life a bit easier. There is an app called Texto, which actually allows you to send SMS text messages from your Mac or PC. And it doesn't require you to download any Windows or Mac programs. You do it straight from your browser, which is something I haven't seen in similar applications like this. For those Android users who feel like they're missing out on the continuity of something like iMessage, I guess this is your next closest bet. Okay, I know there are a lot of people out there who really like keeping on with what's going on in the world, but at the same time they lead incredibly busy lifestyles, so they never get time. I'm one of those people. But a very quick way of doing that is an application called Newsty, which basically summarizes the main headlines into very small paragraphs that you can digest quite quickly. A strange exclusion is that it doesn't deliver news on weekends, which I just don't quite get, but aside from that, it is tough to complain. So you might have heard of a service called Grammarly. It was a program you could install on your Mac or PC, and it would watch what you type and suggest corrections where possible. Well, I suppose the natural next step for that company was to make an Android keyboard. So that's what they've done. And it basically means no matter where you're typing, no matter what you're typing, it'll constantly be monitoring it to check not only spelling, but more importantly, grammar. Ergonomically, I do think it's not quite as good as Google's own keyboard, but in terms of the corrections it offers, in some ways it is better. The next one is pretty self-explanatory. This is called Granular Immersive Mode. So, a situation, you've got yourself a brand new shiny 18:9 aspect ratio phone, but you've just realized that 50% of applications don't fill that display. So what you can do on this is select individual applications that don't currently support full screen mode, and it'll make them support it. Some smartphones already have this kind of functionality built into them, but this is really for the ones that don't. Now, by Google themselves, we have Storyboard, which lets you load up a video. And I'm going to stress the word loading here because it does take a while, but once it's done, it turns it into a comic book, which you can constantly pull down to refresh, and it'll change the layout, the filters it's applying to each of the frames, changes the entire look of it. It tries to pick out frames which it thinks best highlight the different scenes in your video, and generally speaking does a surprisingly good job. Alright, on to my favourite applications, the first one being Vimage. This is, if you didn't notice, a combination of the words video and image, because that's what it does. Once you've picked a photo from your gallery, it gives you an initial screen which lets you tweak things like saturation and sharpness and contrast and all those basic functions. But from there it takes you to the second screen, which lets you pick from a number of different moving effects, everything from champagne to shooting stars to fire. Some of them are great, some of them less good. But I do think when you pick the right one for your image, the effects are subtle but at the same time really, really eye-catching. And then we have Firefox Focus, yet another browser, but again, with a bit of a different tangent. It manages to block just about every single tracker, pop-up and advert in every single page, which makes it not only secure, but also very, very fast. But probably my favourite aspect of it is how it emphasises the privacy. So as soon as you are done browsing whatever it is that you don't want anyone else to find out, you simply tap that little bin in the bottom corner and it deletes the entire session. Alright guys, if you didn't see our best apps collab video that we did with a whole bunch of other YouTubers, check it out now, I'll leave it as a card above. It's a little bit of a different kind of apps video, but I think you'll enjoy it nonetheless.